I've watched it enough to know that it is unbelievably complicated. I can see where you'd need to drink after that.
Oh man,
drinking after cricket is common, yeah, but drinking during cricket is normally required.
Yeah, well, I suppose, yeah. It would make sense given the whole complicated thing, and yeah.
Back in the day, cricketers were renowned for not being the epitome of health and probably partaking in a few too many tinnies after a game. But there
are a few records set that involve getting kicked off planes and all sorts of things. Yeah,
yeah, Booney for one. So, but it's ubiquitously Australian cricket, and that's what I mean. If we can have people thinking about mead while they're playing backyard cricket or at the MCG or the Wacker or the Gabba and drinking mead, then I know we've finally made it into mainstream here in Australia.
Yeah, that would be cool if it was, served or make it the official drink of cricket.
There you go. Yeah. Stay tuned.
There you go. Well, you got to start somewhere, so you could start with you're in Wollongong.
Close. We're in Wollongong.
Wollongong. Okay.
Wollongong.
And that's New South Wales, yeah.
That is correct.
It is the fifth biggest city in Australia, so pretty much just behind all the capital cities. Apparently, this is what the statistics say. It's about an hour and a half just south of Sydney. A lot of people that live in Wollongong will actually commute to Sydney just because of the house prices in Sydney CBD are too expensive. So it's right on the beach. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's a beautiful resort city too. So
oh, nice. So we'll be going there.
Oh, bloody oath.
Yeah.
We certainly will be. We have to visit, Joel. That's part of the rules.
Yes, we do. It's part of the rules.
Mm-hmm. And you've got a nice house that you can stay in now, because where we were, it was a great beach shack, but you would have had to sleep in a swag out the back with a dog. Here, you'll actually get a bedroom if you need somewhere to crash.
Yeah, well, I sleep with dogs now, so, this is not... all four of my little dogs are in the bed every night, and they wouldn't have it any other way. If you try to kick them out of the bed, they get very upset. So,
no.
Yeah. So sleeping in the same room or even in the same bed with dogs is something that I'm very familiar with.
Oh, all right, okay. Well, that's a bit different than me sleeping out in the doghouse with the dog.
No, that would be bad. Yeah. In the dog, especially since it being Australia and everything trying to kill you and all that. I'd rather be indoors too.
You got the dog to protect you.
I had the dog to protect me. Yeah, right after the Eastern Brown got him, he'd get me.
Oh God, you will love it. You will love our puppy. He is called an Australian Shepherd, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've heard of them, an Aussie Shepherd.
I have been owned by an Australian Shepherd. They are wonderful dogs.
Beautiful dogs. So named after the but it's an American breed, and I remember a few years ago, the American breed of puppy society tried to change the name from Aussie Shepherd to American Shepherd, and it got shut down. So they're named after the sheep that they used to round up back in the day. And he's far out. He's a smart boy.
Yeah, we had our girl was named Amber Lightfoot because that dog was faster than anything on four legs. I mean, she could hardly see her. She was going so fast when she'd go flat out. I mean, she was an amazing dog, and she decided early on, even though we got her for my daughter, she decided early on that she liked my husband, and so from that day forward, because they're one-person dogs, Aussie Shepherds, and she decided that he was her person, and that was it from that day forward until the day she died. So.
Oh, they're so loyal. They're great puppies. So ours is named after a reef offshore from a location I used to work at. So I used to work at an offshore research station, scientific research station called Heron Island. And there's a reef just offshore of that called Sykes' Reef. And he's named after that. And funnily enough, my daughter Harper, her middle name is Heron as well. So we have a lot of emotional attachment to that location offshore.
You have had some really interesting jobs. I'm sitting over here feeling really one-dimensional.
But you love what you do, though, Vicky, and that's what's important.
I do, yeah. But I wanted to. I mean, I would have given pretty much my soul and my family's souls and everybody else's souls I could get my hands on to work at an offshore research station when I was in college. That was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But that was before I figured out, before I discovered this stuff. But yeah, I wanted to be Jacques Cousteau when I grew up.
Perfect. We had Jacques Cousteau's son out there and David Attenborough out there.
Oh, really? Oh,
And,
cool. I like
this
David.
place
He's
is
awesome.
David's great. Yeah, we're on first name basis, me and Dave. we're not at all. That's a lie. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I got to meet Jacques Cousteau's son when I was in college. They brought the ship around to Lake Superior because they were diving on the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald while I was in school.
Yep. I read a lot of Clive Cussler, and he's always talking about.
Yeah, isn't he great? Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's great. So I really dig his work. And Dirk Pitt and stuff, but that has absolutely nothing to do with mead.
Oh yeah, not at all. No, but they are still way fun books. I wish he'd write something that has to do with mead because he'd just do it really, really well. Dirk Pitt could drink mead and then dive on the ship and kill all the bad guys. That would be totally awesome.
He could discover some mead, like ancient mead in the Aztec, caves or something.
Yeah.
Right?
And then him and Al could bring it back, and it could turn out to be, poisonous until Dirk backwards engineered it with working with Dr. Patrick McGovern to figure out how to make it drinkable so that, Frank Goldbeck could then produce it as a modern sour mead.
There you go.
It could totally work out. We could totally do that.
Let's do it. Let's get the AMMA writing to Clive Cussler and petitioning him to get mead in the book. Let's do it.
That would be really cool. We should. I've always wanted to meet the guy. I had the opportunity to meet him. He actually came when they raised the Civil War sub down in South Carolina. And I'm in black powder Civil War shooting, so some of our people got to go down there and watch them bring it in.
Excellent.
And it was his crowd that found it, so it was pretty cool. But anyway, back to me. Sorry, get me off into history, and I kind of lose my focus.
Speaking of Frank's influence on you, you've been making a few meads on tap lately, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
And what are you focusing on there? Because you like the sours, I'm told.
Love the sours, man. I mean, I think for my palate anyway, it's dry, and I like sweet meads, but I find that I can't. It's a snifter or a small glass, and you're sort of limited to moving through a bottle. Whereas the drier meads, they can still be the same, 10, 12%. I find I can just drink them a lot more, and I have it's another mead wormhole. I have a real fascination with sours because of what we can do with the bacteria and the bugs and the yeast and how they work together. And it's part art, it's part science, making a sour mead, and there's no room for error. There's nowhere to hide. If you get something wrong, you're going to smell it instantly with a sour. So Frank and I, we don't talk nowhere near as much as I think we'd both like. I'd like to talk to that guy every week, but I had to sort of just touch base with him a little while ago and just make sure that because I'm so influenced by Frank, there's no doubt about it, and his philosophy, not just business, not just mead making, but in how to create a better world, has fully influenced me. And so I just have to touch base with him every now and again and just make sure, hey, Frank, you're inspiring me. I'm trying not to copy what you're doing, but I want you to know that I'm doing what I'm doing, because you inspire me. You create this drive. And so we created a mead that we named in tribute to those guys, so in tribute to what he calls the San Diego style meads that him and Joe and Christopher Herr made there. So we made a mead called San Diego Sour Boy, and it was I guess we'll call it a braggot. Let's not beat around the bush. It had malt in it. We were operating, making some meads in a brewery at that time, a small little brewery, and really sour. And then just to pronounce that citrusy notes that you get from lacto, we aged it on a great Aussie ingredient called a finger lime.
Okay.
And if you're not sure what a finger lime is, man, it's really hard to explain. It's kind of like a tiny little banana shape, but with the skin of a lime, and then you open it up, and it's like these tiny little jewels, kind of like little pomegranates, but way smaller, and they're just total little individual jewels of citrus. Finger limes are extremely expensive here in Australia. They're extremely hard to get. And that mead, the San Diego Sour Boy aged on finger lime, absolutely blew people away. And that's what I was aiming for. People knew about mead, or they hadn't known about mead. They taste this and they're like, oh, wow, I've never had anything like that before. And that's really important for us to get that response. It's really validating for people to say, wow, I didn't know mead could be like this. So that was a big one. We also did another sour. So this was all in a location called Five Barrels Brewery in Wollongong. They were brand new, a nano brewery. They won Craft Brewery of the Year in New South Wales. So straight out of the gate, really great reputation, real quality ingredients. As they were having their first birthday, we'd formed a relationship. That's really important for me, to form relationships with people. And they asked, hey, we're having a party. It's our first birthday. What's a birthday without any friends? Would you guys like to come and be a part of it? So it was a good opportunity for us to do a soft opening to sort of test the market. And another one of the meads that we put on tap was, we called it Funky Man. It was another sour mead, but more along the funky side of things. So it was Brett forward, so Brettanomyces forward. We had some oak that we'd inoculated with it from another batch that, we put into it. So both of them had a Saccharomyces ferment as well as a sort of a bacteria ferment, and that had great tropical notes. We aged it on some passion fruit and some mango, and that, again, another really complex, fruity, cleansing, dry mead. That got a lot of feedback, positive feedback from as well. So, they're a couple of the sour meads that we're playing with. We'll continue to work on sour meads, much the same way as Frank will continue to work on them, and hopefully somewhere along the lines we can sort of pool our resources. I'm still waiting, Vicky, on you to put all of Frank's research out there as well. Like you promised about.
Thank you for reminding me. I have to add that to my list of things I got to do. I'm trying to work my way through the list. I have it all, and I've just got to throw it up there. So I think I'm probably just going to take the chickens way out and just throw it all up in a blog post. And I was trying to make it pretty and stuff, and it's just not. It hasn't happened, so I got to do it.
just get it out there. And Frank's all about open source. That's another thing I took away from it. And have been a little bit hesitant in giving out too much information. I'm really open, but occasionally there'll be one or two things I'll keep reserved. But I think that goes against the grain of what we're trying to do in Australia. So I'll be as open as I can here today. If anyone had any questions about anything that we did, my aim is to get people to make better quality meads in this country, gets better quality mead into people's mouths. They start making better meads. They're more willing to look for it in a retail point of view because they've had experience with quality meads, and so I think that's really important for Australia. So we're all about open source. We'll continue to follow that sort of lead that Frank has given as well in regards to information and recipes and putting information out there on the web. We've sort of taken a step back right now. We won't be producing anything for the next couple of months while we are just figuring out our life again with this move. And we'll be more sort of looking at engaging with our audiences at the moment and educating and hopefully entertaining them. And if they can, start making meads like we make meads, then that's only good for the mead industry, the mead awareness in this country. We need to raise the level, get mead into people's mouths, man.
Yeah, I hear that.
Well, on that note, we have some standard questions that we haven't actually got to yet, and so we'll start with
I was going to ask him about
your
the
favourite?
strawberry and vanilla.
No, not
Yeah.
yet. Let's go on to his favourite yeasts. What do you like to use in regards to yeast?